Merry Christmas, everybody. From our house to your house. It may be 80 degrees outside, but it is still Christmas inside. Happy Vlogmas and welcome to Anne-Marie's Workshop. My name is Anne-Marie and I like to make things. And if you like to make things, you are in exactly the right place. This is day 9 of my Vlogmas. And on day 8, where's day 7? Day 7, I showed you how to make scrappy fabric. Here's my scrappy fabric that has been made from the whole year of scraps. Actually, not even this year, like last year. I still have an entire bucket full of scraps that I want to work on. So I had a little feedback and I wanted to recommend that you do your scrappy fabric on strips of fabric as the year goes by, as you finish projects, and you can put them together based on color, texture, whatever you'd like, and kind of put them in it's like collecting nuts. You put them in your nest until the time comes when you have a little bit more time to stitch them all together and potentially have fabric that you can use to make different crafts or gifts. Now, in the description box, I have put together some of the things that I like to listen to, and I think I'm going to do this from now on. I stole this idea from Fold Line. I love when they come on and talk about what they like to listen to while they sew. Some things are sewing related and some are just recommendations. I personally am an Audible book fan. I like to listen to book on tape because I'm visual. Sometimes if I watch something on TV, it's too distracting, but favorite movies I can watch over and over again. And so I'll start putting some of my suggestions of some of my, I call them basement movies, because I used to sew in the basement when I lived in Pittsburgh, and I had a whole like movie screen going on and everything while I was sewing. So music, books on tape, and movies are the kind of things I put on that make the whole sewing experience wonderful for me, as well as talking to people on the telephone and online. So I'm new to Vlogmas and I make crafts year round, but I thought to myself, what would I show people how to do on Vlogmas that was authentic and real for them? And I thought, what are the kind of things I'd like to get from someone, or that I'd like to make? I have different needs. I'd like to see what all I can make for my scrappy fabric. Now, I love my MacBook Pro, but its case cracked about a year or so ago. And I thought I would first thing I'm going to make with some of my scrappy fabric is a cover for my MacBook Pro. I think it's going to be very simple. It's going to take some scrappy fabric, some other lining fabric, a zipper, and I think I'm going to put some batting so that there's some cushion around it, and I think it'll be a very simple make, so come along for the ride. First of all, my scrap fabric turned out to be quite a large piece. Now, I've been stitching these strips over the past year or so, but this is my first chance to put them all together. But I like the palette, and there's quite a few things I want to make with this. All right, so the first thing I need to figure out are what are my requirements to cover my MacBook Pro. I would also like a little pocket or something to house my external hard drive so that I could keep them safe, and maybe someplace where I can put my cords for my iPad when I travel. So it seems that my MacBook Pro is 13 inches. I'll say 14 inches because I want a little ease with my seam allowances. I have to add that in. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so let's see. But I want seam allowance, so let's go 11. So 11 by, what did I say again? 14 inches. Let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 gives me some space. I'm gonna add maybe a half an inch more. Let's say 14 inches, because remember, I also want to put a little pocket inside the lining to slide my external hard drive and my cords in. So I think I'm gonna go up to 15 inches. All right, now I'm gonna look inside my scraps and see what what extra zippers I have and what lining I have. Okay, I have found 2 candidates for lining, 3 candidates for zippers. These are all sports zippers left over from other projects that I'm not using anymore. But I think this is the kind of slide I want for my case. I have these colors. So I'm going to make some choices and I'll be right back. So I have my batting, zippers, lining, my created fabric, and I can get started. Okay, I've made my choices. I'm going with the green zipper, the copper coming lining left over from my tuxedo I made, and some leftover batting that I have left over from some of my quilt projects. So I'm going to cut these out in the dimensions that I figured out for to cover my laptop, and then we'll go from there. Now remember, your device is going to be a particular size, so you need to measure out, like I'm doing, how wide your device is, how tall it is, and give yourself, say, an inch of ease on either side to accommodate both the pockets where you're going to put your accessories, and to give yourself a little ease in case you want to slip anything inside of your bag. Now, measuring is very good, but nothing's wrong with eyeballing how exactly your device fits into these pockets. Better safe than sorry. Take your items for a test run to make sure that everything is going to be inside of your case in exactly the position you want it to be. Now at this stage, I am measuring my batting to fit my lining. I chose to line with batting because I just wanted a little extra protection. Now, since it took me a little bit of effort to make this fabric, and I want to make multiple projects with it, I'm going to try and see how I can maximize measuring my cover and get the most out of this fabric. My case is going to be a simple drop-in number, but I would like these top edges here to be curved before I put in my zipper and sew up the sides. So I'm going to use this spool as a guide to help me cut the curve away from each one of these edges right up here, as well as the lining. Okay, all right. Now I must admit that putting the curve on the edges created a more challenging sew. You could just put your zipper in straight across if you'd like. I'm going to add some interfacing to these pockets that I'm making to hold my cord and my external hard drive, because I have a feeling they're going to get a lot of action being pulled in and out of the pocket. So I'm going to give this fabric for the lining a little bit more stability. I have folded around the edges of my pockets after interfacing. I turned them under once and then turned them under again. I'm now going to stitch the inside of the pocket, like from here all the way around, and attach it to my lining, because that is where I'm going to be sliding my external hard drive and my cords. So I'm going to do that stitching and I'll be right back. Okay, so my two pockets are ready to go. Now I happen to use a batting that was fusible. You do not have to use a batting that is fusible. So I'm going to attach my batting to my lining fabric. Now it's time to add my pockets to the inside lining. So I'm going to flip them and position them on near the edge here, and I'm going to stitch along the bottom here, flip them up, and stitch around the edge. After the initial top stitching of my pockets around the center, I pinned them in place because I'm going to top stitch around at the edges to lock them in place. And I do that. I've done that on the machine, taking my pins out and finger pressed my pockets into place. Now I've stitched them in place at the sides and doing some trimming, and we're ready to get going. Now before I stitch this the top and put the zipper in place, I'm looking through my scraps and I found some fusible letters, and it's an opportunity to get some of the scraps. So I found an R and an A, so I'm going to add that to the front of my device cover. I'm so happy to use some of these letters. They were from a project a long time ago, and I did not need to use that many letters, but I'm glad that I was able to put some to good use. In order to place my zipper in the right place, I first determined where the center of the zipper was and the center of the bag was along the top edge. And then I began to baste around the edge because I think this would be a little fiddly to do with just pins, especially with this curve at the end. So I like to baste in one direction and then the other, so I don't end up with any skewed materials. It happens all the time. So I stitch from the center, a wide basting stitch to the very end. Alright, so stitch as close to the zipper as you can come to the teeth along those basting lines. And when you turn it to the right side, you'll see that it will provide the stitching on either side. So now that I've done one side, it's time to stitch baste first, so that you can manage the curve. Baste first and then stitch close to the teeth, but not on the teeth, all around to the other side. Stop about maybe half an inch before you get to the end of the zipper tape. To help my basting go along easier, I'm going to go ahead and
pin my batting and lining to my fashion fabric um, in place to the point at which I want to stop before I baste with a loose basting stitch around the edge, so that when it's time for me to stitch with my zipper foot, it'll be easier.
When you turn it inside out, you should have your zipper attached to your fashion fabric. All right, so your next move is to attach your lining, okay? Now separate your zipper and hold your piece out flat like this, and you're going to place the fashion fabric on the back side, your lining facing the right side on the inside, and the batting on the other side. Let me do it again. This is the back of your fashion fabric or your scrappy fabric. That's the front side, that's the satin lining, and this is the back batting. And you are going to line them up and stitch along the zipper, except for an inch away from where the zipper tab is, around the edge. I suggest you baste it because this is kind of fiddly. I put pins in place so that I can baste it, and then you can take it to the machine and stitch from right here all the way around to right here, which is about an inch before I get to my zipper tape. Okay, I'm going to do it on this half, and then I'm going to do it on this half, but it still gives me a space to turn my work inside out.
After turning my the project inside out, I'm going to go ahead and slide my zipper together because I want to enclose that edge on the separating zipper so that it doesn't separate after I stitch it together. So I turn my project inside out, and it could get a little tricky, so I'll go very slow. Now my goal is to sew 3 sides together and leave one side open so that I can turn my final project inside out. Now it's a little tricky. You're going to secure the front of the bottom part of your laptop case, the fashion fabric, on one side. You're going to make sure that you're attaching it with a pin to the other side of the project fabric and scrappy fabric, and then the lining, you want the lining to attach to itself as well. So it almost looks like little legs. All right, but you're going to leave your lining fabric on one side, whichever side you choose. You're going to leave it open so that you're able to turn your project inside out. So as you can see, I've stitched 3 sides, but I have one lining side open so that my hand can get inside and turn this whole project inside out. It can get a little tricky, but you need to leave one lining fabric open. Don't stitch it. Okay, in we go, and if we pull everything out, hopefully it will turn out okay. This can get complicated, so let me do this again. When your project is inside out, you're going to have 2 separate pieces on each side that are unstitched. 2 that face each other are fashion fabric or scrappy fabric, and 2 that face each other, like this, are lining fabric. All right, so you're going to make sure that you stitch 3 sides together, 1 lining and 2 scrappy fabric sides together, but you're going to leave one lining fabric opening so that you can put your hand in and pull out your case to make sure that you've done everything right. Hopefully, I hope this helps. Now that you've turned your project inside out, you're going to slip stitch your two pieces in place and seal up your project case.
As a finishing touch, I pressed and I edge stitched along the zipper. Okay. All right, so now here's the test. Does all of my equipment fit in my bag? MacBook Pro in, external hard drive in pocket, adapter in, zipper. Oh my goodness, it all fits with my initials on it. I hope you enjoyed this video and can make a case for your electronics. I have a lot more scrap fabric. Tune into Vlogmas tomorrow and see what's the next thing that I make with the scrappy fabric. Happy Vlogmas. Keep making.